In part one of Tips for Beginners, well, it's not really just for beginners, is it? We came up from Morning to Neatishead. Today we go from Neatishead to Acle Bridge. Now, I've looked at the footage, it's 2 hours long. Whether that stays as 2 hours, I don't know, because we've been up the Ant, so I might show little bits of it on the way. Now, a little tip, when you've mowed up and you're about to set off, this doesn't, you not necessarily just like in confined spaces like this, but check to make sure your steering wheel is central, because when you've come into moor, you're likely to have had it on full lock, possibly if you're reversing, and when you set off, if you haven't checked it, you'll just head straight towards a boat, possibly. So, Neatishead, you either have to reverse in or reverse out. There is a video on YouTube, if you search for it. A boat got stuck trying to turn around in the Staithe. And with bow thrusters, it's fairly straightforward. If you haven't got bow thrusters and you're coming to this point now where you want to get out of a tight confined space, you've got to be aware of what's going on behind you as well as in front. Now, I've got bow thrusters here, so I can just put them on and it'll turn me right heading down Limekiln Dyke. If not, if you had the full lock on to go right and then put it into reverse and keeping the full lock on, don't try to steer it like it's a car. That's where a lot of people go wrong. So just leave the full lock on and then keep going forward, back if you have to do a couple of times, maybe more, until you get into the direction that you want to travel. Straighten your wheel up and Bob's your uncle. So, as I say, we've been up this little stretch, but I think I might just leave this for now because it's a lovely little stretch. And if anything springs to mind as I'm watching the video, I'll shout up. Don't forget to subscribe, that'd be good. And if you haven't already, have a look at the Broads Walks videos that I've done. Me and Christine went for a nice one from here. It only takes around an hour, and you get to see the lovely Fudge Lady's stall where you can buy some fudge. You can also buy the fudge in the shop in the village, which is just before you get to the pub as you go down the road from the Staithe. So it's about a 5-minute walk from Neatishead Staithe down to the White Horse. Well worth a visit. Lovely pub, lovely staff, and lovely beers and decent food.
Patterns flickering on the flooring, mellow yellow clouds in the morning. Ready for the day, hear it calling. Catch your breath before you falling. East side to west side, I'm coming. Going high like a roller coaster, stretching time 'cause it don't stop for you. Keep it together, play it right. This is how you come to. Turn another page, write your story. Chasing better days, not the glory. Talking about the glory. Don't flinch, don't blink, don't fear. Keep on, those skies will clear in the morning. Feel it every moment. East side to west side, I'm coming. Going high like a roller coaster, stretching time 'cause it don't stop for you. Keep it together, play it right. This is how you come to life. East side to the west side in the snow. East side to the west side in the
it's so stunning. These streets of yours keep on running. Follow your heart, follow your heart, follow your heart.
I did mention in episode 1 about it can be a little bit tight. Now this place where we're passing here isn't too bad, so there's plenty of room for us both to get through, but as you can see there's not a great deal on either side, so just take it easy, no need to rush, enjoy your day. As we approach the end of Limekiln Dyke, or the start of Limekiln Dyke, whichever way you'd like to look at it, Staithe was on your left as we was coming down over Barton Broad to approaching to Staithe, and now it is obviously on your right. Even my basic navigational skills can work that one out. And if you didn't see the other video, then Staithe is a good alternative for mooring. If you get down to Neatishead and you find that it's full, then and you've spotted that there's a couple of spaces here, you can moor up, and it's only an extra 10 minutes walk down to the village, and it's a little bit nearer for you to go if you wanted to go to the Barton boardwalk. And as we're coming onto Barton Broad, it's very, very still. We had a bit of ice down the dyke, and there's a lovely sunrise coming up, so we'll whiz over. I think let's have a whiz over Barton Broad. I know some people don't like this sort of time-lapse type videoing, so just fast forward it. Ha, that's a joke.
I'm playing my own game, it doesn't include you. I'm doing my own thing, it doesn't concern you. I'm living wild and free, feel the air beneath me. If it's meant to be, it won't work for me. It's time to say goodbye. Yeah, we had a good run, but I had to slow it down, 'cause I felt you speeding up, and I couldn't keep up, yeah, I couldn't keep up with you. Stop blaming yourself, yeah. Don't act like you need me. I've got all my pieces, yeah, you don't complete me. 'Cause when you fuck up and fall down, you expect me just to pick you up. But when it's my turn to fall down, you don't even show up. And it's time to say goodbye. Yeah, we had a good run, but I have to slow it down, 'cause I felt you speeding up, and I couldn't keep up, yeah, I couldn't keep up with you.
Now then, quick jump to Irstead Staithe. And the reason I've done this is not something that I'm going to help you with, it's something that I'm asking a question about, because every time I go past Irstead Staithe, there's a little orange object in the water. I can't work out whether it's some sort of paddle board or what. Now we can just about see it. Can't pick it up proper in the light here off this camera, but just there next to the dinghy, it looks like a miniature something or other, and I've no idea what it is. Every time I go past it I try to get another look to see if I can come up with something. Any ideas? Give us a shout. As you've probably worked out by now, I'm not doing anything in a sort of organised way. I'm watching my own footage of the river, and anything that springs to mind, I'm just talking about it. So if you've got any questions about anything to do with the River Ant, the Barton Broad, or the River Bure that will be coming on very shortly, then leave them in the comments, and if I can't answer them, I'm sure some of my very knowledgeable subscribers will help you out. And if we can't answer them, we will find the answer somewhere along the line. I'm hoping now that there's a few boats that have come out from Richardson's yesterday. Now, yesterday was April the 12th, 2021, which is probably long distant memory by now. Now the pubs have reopened fully again. But it was the first time we was allowed to stay overnight in holiday homes, our own boats, hire boats. As we came up yesterday up the Ant, there wasn't many boats about. But I'm expecting to see, right on cue, here's one while moored now. They probably come from Richardson's. I can't really see from here. The lighting, I'm not sure how it's going to come out, but it's very filtered, the sun. I don't want to be messing about too much with putting my own colour grading on it. But you'll get them coming from Richardson's and come down at whatever time and think, oh, that looks a nice mooring, let's pop in there. Or it could be a private boat. But as you see there, it looks decent. The banking looks quite flat and even, and there's trees that you can tie up to possibly, if you don't use the rod anchor. I can just make the name out. It's Island Gem, so it is a Rico's one. Yeah, so that's my first, or our first wild moorer on the River Ant. So I'm going to fast forward to Ludham Bridge, and then we'll take it from there all the way down to Acle Bridge and see what we can come up with along the way. Upton Dyke. As we approach Ludham Bridge, I might have missed a couple of vital pieces of information on episode 1. The first one is that you're only 5 minutes walk away from the Dog Inn, which is a nice pub, well worth a visit. Do some lovely food. So from here, coming down the Ant towards the Bure, you moor at Ludham Bridge on either side, and you go up to the bridge and the shops, and you take a left, and it's up there. Now you can walk it all the way from here down to the Ludham village, and the road that goes over the bridge is the road that goes over the river on the bridge is the A1062, and that runs from Wroxham to Potterham. And you can walk from here to St Benets Abbey, or you can walk from St Benets Abbey to here. Other people, that is another thing on the to-do list. We have not yet done it. We were supposed to do it in February last year, but that's 2020, but it never happened. Now, as we can see, we did notice a few more wild moored boats on the way down, and definitely a lot more life about Ludham Bridge than there was yesterday when we came up the Ant. And I was expecting it to be absolutely mad busy, and it was okay. It wasn't too bad. It was busy on a couple of days up near Arning, Wroxham, that area. But on the Ant, on this first day, it didn't seem too bad. And, well, it's a lovely start to the day. A bit fresh, but... Now, we could go into winter cruising and cold weather cruising, but I think that's for another day, basically. Suffice to say, take enough clothes to keep you warm. And if you like to use hot water bottles, then there's nothing wrong with that. So here we go again, just a quick reminder, if you're approaching a bridge like this where there's only enough room to get one boat through, and there's a boat coming the other way, the boat that is going against the tide gives way to the boat that's going with the tide, simply because it's easy to control if you're going against the tide. And then breathe in as you go through and watch your head. Now right are the moorings I mentioned in episode 1. There is a charge to moor here, but decent moorings, decent mooring posts, and not too far to walk to the bridge and up to the Duggin. If the moorings on the other side of the bridge are full, this is a good alternative. Plus, moor up at the end down here, get your fishing tackle off and walk from the sign, which I can't quite pick out see how much it is, and you can walk down this banking, and as far as I'm aware, you can fish along there. You can't moor, but you can fish. Like I've said before, things are subject to change. What I know might have changed by the time you sort of watch this video. And then again, I'm only going off my mate Mark, and he's prone to exaggeration, that guy. He told me he caught a bigger fish than me. Now, coming up very shortly is a boat coming in the opposite direction, and I have mentioned this one in my videos. Now, I should have watched the footage because I thought she said she wanted 8'4", but listening to it, I think she says that's about us, meaning 8 foot, and they're not quite at the marker, so they wouldn't have seen what the height under the bridge is. And she does ask me as we're going past. Now, let's see if we can pick it up. I'll turn the sound up to see if we can pick this up a little bit. We did, but we only need 6'10". It's about 8 foot. Well, I'm guessing that they got under. So they've 8 foot, and it was 8 foot. They would have got under. Now the thing is, this is nothing to do with safety and nothing to do with cruising on the rivers. Well, it is really. It's to do with going on the Ludham Bridge. Be very aware. There is a spy. She normally sits in a car at the bridge, getting the boats go by. You may have seen her. Her channel is New Name Same Me. So if you're going on the Ludham Bridge, the likelihood is she'll have caught you on camera. So be careful. Don't get stuck. No, don't get stuck. You become a feature. Now the thing is, on this trip, this was the second time we went on the Ludham Bridge. And later on in the week, we went under it twice more. And could we see her? No, she was off somewhere else filming. It's not good enough, is it? What does a man have to do to get on YouTube? I was reading in a Facebook group, somebody asked a question about who has right of way when coming out of a river like the Ant onto the Bure. Well, there's a lot that's not like driving a car. For example, we're on the right hand side of the river and you don't steer going backwards like you do in a car. But coming onto a main river from a river like the Ant, like this, the boats that are on the Bure have the right of way. Now, when you're coming down to the Bure, if you want to go to Warning and Wroxham, it is signposted. If you want to go to Warning and Wroxham, you turn right. If you want to go to Acle, the Thurne and Great Yarmouth area that way, you turn left. Now we was on Tobago one year and Nathan, my stepson, was in control and I wasn't paying attention, and then I think I was sorting cameras out and so on like you do. And I had a look round and I thought, hang about, this doesn't look familiar, where are we going? Because the destination was Thurne Dyke, we wanted to get in there. And if you want to see that video, I think I did the full week in one video. It's called In and Out of the Storm. Yeah, it was pretty stormy that week. Well, that couple of days anyway. So I popped my head up and I said, have we come off the river onto the main river yet? And he said, yeah. I said, have we gone past St Benets Abbey? What's that? I said, do you remember that time we came and got the dayboat from Wroxham and there was a bull and a cow playing in the field? I said, that's St Benet's Abbey where that happened. No, we've not gone past there yet. I said, so you turn right then? He said, yeah. I said, right, you need to turn round. Go in the opposite direction. Ah, well. So on this occasion, we have turned left onto the Bure and we are just approaching St Benet's Abbey. Now, on the right, opposite St Benet's Abbey, is Fleet Dyke, which leads down to South Walsham Broad. And in a future video, we'll have a lovely cruise down there and around the inner and outer Broad. And St Benet's Abbey, it's got quite an history about it, and it has a very good website which you can have a look at and listen to a lot of guides about it. There's a children's guide, there's an history guide, and I'm going to play now a short extract. I did contact them and a lovely lady said it would be okay. Could I send her a link to the video, which I will do. I won't play the full MP3 because it's 23 minutes long, so I'm just going to give you a short extract. And don't forget, whip over to the, once you've watched my video of course, don't just go now, whip over to the website and have a look round. It's got a lot of information about St Benet's. And another thing you should do is, well, check Russell the Admiral's video of when he went in there, and well, shall we say, he was a little bit scared.
This is the St Benet's Abbey History Tour. I'm Penny Root and I was lucky enough to be taken around the site by Stephen Hayward, an expert on Norfolk churches, and Alison Yardy, who knows all about the county's windmills. They both work for Norfolk's Historic Environment Service. I'll help you follow the route we took, and I hope you enjoy eavesdropping on snatches of our conversation about the rise and fall of the Abbey and how the space has been used since the monks departed. We start on the flood bank, in front of the gatehouse, just by the information panel, where I asked Stephen about the early origins of the Abbey.
It's pretty well legend that there was a hermit that came here before the Viking invasions. But it's pretty legendary, really, when the Abbey becomes prominent and important, when it was Canute, or Canute as we used to call it, who was the emperor of Denmark, and all of East Anglia included, and he set up, or he supported a foundation at Bury St Edmunds. Now, it's thought that the monks from here at St Benet's were the first monks to go to Bury. They went to Bury to start off the monastery there.
So
And
does that mean that St Benet's predates Bury St Edmunds Abbey?
yes, yes it does. But both these foundations were greatly supported by the Canute, and he gave money to the monks here to replace the mud buildings they had with stone ones.
But as we look around the landscape here, it's a landscape which is singularly lacking in stone, isn't it, Alison?
It is. There's no natural building stone here, but unfortunately this site we've got the River Bure water highway beside the site, so it's relatively easy to bring in building materials.
The chief building material, limestone, would have come from either Normandy or open quarries near Stamford in Lincolnshire. But of course there's also a lot of flint used here, and there are plentiful supplies of that locally. Once the abbey was established, it grew swiftly, accumulating lands and wealth from the rents it charged tenants. In 1327, the king issued a licence, which provides an indication of how influential the abbey had become. Stephen explained, as we looked across at the remaining exterior wall attached to the gatehouse, it was a rather particular licence.
A licence to crenellate, which means from the king you have to get permission to put walls up, which could be defended.
And
So
we see the results of that here.
Unfortunately, those ones are later.
Oh, are they?
But
It's never simple, is it?
it's never simple, no. But however, later on, we'll be able to see some of the original walls, which are extremely interesting and stand on the northern edge there.
Essentially then, we know that the licence to crenellate in the 14th century meant that that's when the wall was built, and presumably when the gatehouse was put into it as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
And it's rather a fancy gatehouse, isn't it? It's very highly decorated.
It's a prime late medieval gatehouse, obviously in an important precinct, important area. We're jolly lucky we have still survives, really. But it was very well built. And then it had a later industrial use, which has ensured its preservation, really.
And that's where Alison comes in, because you are the knowledgeable person about mills on the Broads, aren't you? The front of the gatehouse is obscured by this mill, which has just sort of been plonked on top of it, hasn't it?
Well, to listen to Alison's response about that, then check out the website. And like I said, or it came up on screen, the link is in the description. So basically, you can just Google St Benets Abbey and the website will come up for you. So let's carry on now with our little journey down to Acle Bridge. Well, I hope you've been paying attention because I will be asking questions later. Well, actually, I'll ask you one now. Did you notice my position on the river as opposed to the boats coming in the opposite direction? The position I'm in now. Now this is where I tend to cruise, central, or just to the right of central. Sometimes on camera it looks as though you're very far over on the left. I've noticed that on other people's videos as well. You're thinking, ooh, you're on the wrong side of the river, but you're not actually. Some people take it that you have to stay to the right, and I've seen a few reduggers. Now this boat is in the right hand channel, which is fine, not too close to the reeds, not too close to the centre, so that's fine. But you do see some that are right over into the reeds. I think they think they have to stay as far to the right as possible, but that's not the case. I can't see anything wrong with getting it mid-river, staying away from potential hazards at the side, and then just pull over when there's any boats coming the other way. Now, do you know what the law is about overtaking? No, neither do I, because there isn't one. There's no strict law about it. The general rule of thumb is that you overtake on the outside, which is the port side, so you go round the boat with more of the river rather than cutting inside, but it isn't actually law. You do get people who try to do that, especially day boats, because they don't really know. They come whizzing on the inside of you. Now you're not looking on that side, so quite often I've almost cut people up and pushed them into the reeds because they try and overtake me on that side. I haven't done it on purpose, it's just that you don't notice they're there, and there's boats coming the other way, you're moving over to the right a little bit and you're not looking so much behind you on that side. In fact, there was one guy I think it was last July, down at Yarmouth. He come screaming past us almost on the inside, and I don't know where he thought I could go, because there was nowhere I could go. I couldn't go, pull over to let him go round me because there was just no room. I'm shouting at him to go around the other side if he wants to overtake. Anyway, I think he saw the error of his ways just as the quay heading sort of jutted out a little bit more, and that's where he would have ended up. So be careful if you are going round on the starboard side. The skipper of the boat you're overtaking might not see you. Most Broads cruise steering position is on the left, so if you're coming up on the inside of the boat, the skipper might not see you, like I've said. So pip you're on. I mean, you can overtake that way if there's room for you, but make sure they know that you're there. We're turning right then. Well, we're just approaching the Thurne Mouth, and in the distance, I don't think it's the first one you can see on the left, I think it's the one after that, the White Mill. The first one does look a bit white from here, but that is not it, I don't think. Thurne Mill is the one in the distance, and that's where Upton Dyke is, and the Lion Inn. Now, if you've not been in the Lion Inn for many years, it has changed. It's changed hands. The moorings have changed. There is a charge. There was a charge on both sides, which there still is, and the pub controls the cost of mooring on both sides now. It used to be the pub on the left side, a farm on the right side, but when they come round collecting your money, it'll be somebody from the pub, and they must have some sort of arrangement. It's nothing to do with me. They're probably on a commission for collecting the fees. So we are turning right onto the, well, we're staying on the Bure, so at the junction we are going right down towards Acle and Yarmouth and that way, going up the Thurne. If you've looked at your map, you will see that you've got Thurne Dyke, and then past that you've got Womack Dyke, and that is well worth another trip down there to the Staithe, or even the free moorings in the dyke, which are a little bit farther to walk, and we will visit that in another video later in the week, or well, later in this series. So yeah, you can see the little white mill, although it looks little from here, and then beyond Womack Dyke you've got Potterham, And if you can get under Iron Bridge at any time, and they say it's safe for you to get, you'll be able to get back, then that's well worth a visit on the other side. It's lovely over there. Well, you'll hardly see any boats at all. I think I've been under twice in grief, since I started going as an adult when I was 19, about 20 years ago.
You are lying. You're lying.
So it's been a while. So yeah, so we're heading now down to Acle. There's some free moorings as you come round here. They was closed. They closed some moorings down here, but they've actually opened some more. So there are some moorings on the left banking as you come round here. And as far as moorings go, other than being able to get a couple of wild moorings, there's not much in the way of mooring from here down to Acle Bridge. And well, let's just enjoy this nice little cruise, and we will talk more when we get a bit nearer.
Greatest art,
You alright, missus?
brilliant skies. If I don't do anything else, I just wanna love you well. If I don't do anything else, I just wanna love you well, love you well.
That's wonderful.
Slow down time, breathe you in, get it right, touch your skin. Oh, something in your eyes moving with the tide. Oh. If I don't do anything else, I just wanna love you well. If I don't do anything else, I just wanna love you well, love you well. If I don't do anything else, I just wanna love you well. If I don't do anything else, I just wanna love you well, love you well. Let's run through the night. Colors burst inside. Love like oceans can't run dry. Love is barely time. These hearts come to life. Love like oceans can run dry. If I don't do anything else, I just wanna love you well. If I don't do anything else, I just wanna love you well, love you well. If I don't do anything else, I just wanna love you well. If I don't do anything else, I just wanna love you well, love you well.
Exterminate! 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 It's not really a Dalek, is it? This is Oby Drainage Mill. It was built in 1753 and it's the oldest drainage mill on the Norfolk Broads. It does look like a Dalek. There's a short video on YouTube of aerial footage of Oby Mill. It is not my aerial footage. There is a link in the description, so check that out. About 10 minutes, 15 minutes possibly, depending how fast you're going obviously, away from Acle Bridge you come to Upton Dyke on your right. Now if you've seen my walking videos, well actually this one's not in it's not categorised as a walking one, it's mixed in with a boating one. It's a lovely walk from Acle Bridge up the river, down the dyke to Upton, where the White Horse pub, community run pub is, and they'd welcome any Broads visitors. Now if you're thinking of going down the dyke on your boat, consider how narrow it is. If you've got a small boat, then you'll have no problem whatsoever. We went down once in Silver Cloud, and I think it was at Easter time, and it was pretty quiet on the river. The thing was, the boat's down at the I can't remember the name of the boatyard. Is it Eastwood Welton or something? But the boatyard down there anyway. All the boats were there, taking up all the spaces. It's really difficult to turn. I think I've seen the captain go down there once, and he reversed out, I think. But it is a nice walk, like I say, from the bridge up here down the dyke. It's very straightforward into the village. It takes you 45 minutes there, a few pints in the pub, an hour and a half back. The difference is staggering. So, yes, so anyway, we're approaching Acle now, not far from Acle Bridge. And, well, what a lovely morning. Well, as we're considering mooring up, because you have to do, you can't just go to drop the mud weight in the Broad every night, can you? Especially if you've got dogs. Perhaps this should have been in an earlier video, but, well, better late than never. If you got your boat from Richardson's up at Stalham, or Herbert Woods at Portrayham, or Barnes, or Faircraft, Northern Broads Direct, whatever they like to call themselves, or Ferry Marina at Awning, you will have had in your tuition. They'll took you out, showed you how to moor the boat up, and then you let loose. Now, if you are a first timer and you're concerned about the tides, then getting to Acle Bridge is a good midpoint, basically, because it starts to get a little bit tidal down at Acle Bridge, and you've got to be careful that you're mooring up against the tide. Now, there are exceptions to this, sort of if the wind is stronger than the tide. Try working that one out when you're just coming into moor and you're thinking which is strongest. Well, you'll soon find out. It happened to me once at the Recutters at Cantley. I thought we was on a ebbing tide. I'd actually turned the boat around to go against the tide, and the wind was just blowing us back down the river and up the river or whatever. So the wind was stronger than the tide. So, but under normal circumstances, you'll be going against the tide. So take it nice and easy on your first one. When you get down near somewhere like Acle where it's tidal, just go into the mooring slowly, put it in reverse. Well, I mean, I'll probably explain a little bit better when I'm actually doing it myself, but unless you can see the controls, it's difficult to explain, and you'll soon get the hang of it. There's nothing to worry about. Just take your time and don't go out like a bull in a china shop. And if you go in with the tide, the likelihood is that if it's a fast tide, you possibly run into something that's already moored up. So that's just a basic. I'm sure you're well aware of that, but the point I'm trying to make is you can get a boat up at Wroxham and go and moor up, have a test mooring, say, down at Wroxham Island, and you could moor either one way or the other, and you probably wouldn't notice anything at certain times on the tide, but you get down near Acle. And actually, I think we're coming on to an overtaking scenario here. So now the boats there are tucked up to the right, so there's no way you'd even think of attempting to overtake on their inside. You're too close to the reeds for a start. All your space is on the port side where we are now, and like I've said earlier, the likelihood of the skipper or the helm actually seeing you on the inside, they'd have to have their head stuck out of the roof, or, well, I mean, because if you look at this one now here where these kids are, and I'll come on to that in a minute actually, because I thought that was a really good idea what they were doing. The helm there, he can't see what's to his starboard side at the back, so it is dodgy if you're overtaking on that side. Now these kids, They were taking names, I think, of boats, and that's a good idea if you've got children. Give them something to do. I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, because we know we're near mooring up, never mind casting off. But as it springs to mind, I thought I'd better say it before I forget. When you're setting off from a mooring, which rope do you let go first? I mean, it's great if you've got somebody on the bow rope and somebody on the stern rope, but which one's best to let go first? So what you need to do with that is, and I'll probably reiterate this again in the video, the next one that comes along, which shows us when we're actually leaving the mooring, but if you look at your ropes, when you get to a place like Acle Bridge where it is more tidal than say up at Coltishore, for example, if you're up there you'll hardly notice anything, but it is tidal down at Acle Bridge more than further up the river. So one of the ropes will be tight if the tide's ebbing or flooding, and that will signify which way the tide's going. So you tight one, you leave until last. If there's only one person doing the untying, then untie the slack one. Because if you untie the tight one, that part of the boat would be the front or the back will just swing out. And if you're at Reedham, for example, but it's very, very tidal, it will swing out that fast that it'll whiz round, hit the quay heading, snap the rope, and leave your stepson on the banking while you are drifting off down the river, and the quay attendant is shouting at you, threatening to report you to Richardson's. No, that wasn't my fault. She should have supervised him doing that. Honest, Your Honour. Yeah, so if you're going down south, which a lot of people like to do, you've got to be a lot more wary of the tides down there than you have on the northern rivers, that's for sure. That's for another day, that's for another holiday actually. Come July, that's when we'll be going down south for a few days. And, I've mentioned it already, breaking news, the week before we're having an apartment in Butterham. And my daughter and her partner's joining us. And it's been a long time since Lucy was with us. In fact, I saw a video came up on my Facebook memories of her and a friend Sean when we went down on Royal Oak down to Beccles. It was in 2013. Now I'm guessing that in 2021 it's going to cost us a little bit more than a couple of cokes and some plasticine kit. Empty. The first moorings that you see as you come towards Acle Bridge are Pedro's on the right. At the moment there's nobody there because, well, it's been the first day. I don't even think Pedro's are open at this moment in time as we are coming down here. But I'm not too keen on mooring at the moorings to pay £10. Unless we're eating. If we're eating at Pedro's, which if you haven't been into Pedro's, then it is well worth a visit. It's nice. It's a Mexican tapas. So when I first heard about it, I'm thinking tapas, and I'm not really keen on a few little bits of fish and stuff like that. But it's not. It's not like that. It's well worth a visit. And if you're thinking of booking moorings and places, because there's not that many pubs you can actually book moorings at. I've seen that on Facebook a few times where people are saying, is it worth booking moorings? Well, on the northern rivers, I can only think of the New Inn, Roxham Hotel, and Pedro's here at Acle. I can't think of any others where you can book moorings, to tell you the truth. So we're coming in now. What the plan here was if there was mooring on the free BA moorings, and they've recently been done, there's electric posts, and they've done a really, really good job. I know the BA get a lot of stick from a lot of people, but they've done a really good job here. And so we decided we would just come in here rather than go down to the pub where we normally do. We normally get on the hook up at the pub if we can, especially in the winter months. But we thought we'd just pull in here, which we did. Now, there's loads of room here, as you can see, so you're not always going to have this much room when you come into moor. So I can virtually just drive in, gradually going in, virtually parallel to the banking. There's a lot of times you'll have to come in with your nose pointing in a little bit and then turn out once you've got into the space. So basically, as soon as you get close to it, you need to put it in reverse because that's your brake, isn't it? But don't leave it too late because it's not really a brake, is it? It's just going to slow you down. So you won't stop on a sixpence. So if somewhere that's pretty tidal, what I'll do is I'll ask Christine to just wrap the rope round the post just to hold us in position rather than try tying off, because we might just be drag it up a little bit to give a bit more room for the boats or whatever. It's just a matter of getting off and getting the boat secured to the side so it's not going to drift away. Now in this particular instance we're coming against the tide, and if it was just Christine tying up on her own, I would ask her to do the front one. But because I could just step off and get the front rope myself and Christine on the back, and it wasn't that tidal, if it was coming a bit faster, and if it was raining, for example, and I didn't want to get my lovely hair wet, I'd ask Christine to do the front first. Now the reason for that is because if you tie the back, now as you can see it is slightly tidal, and if I don't hold that rope, the front end's going to swing around and come back out into the middle of the river. But if you tie the front one up first, then the back of the boat, it just swings and goes straight down the quay heading. So I hope that makes sense. If not, just drop us a comment. I'll try to explain it better for you. And if you're not too sure what the tide is actually doing, there's a great little app you can get on your phone. It's called Away, Aweigh, and that will tell you the state of the tide where you're at that particular time. It also tells you the speed you're going as well, and there's more information on it. Have a look at it, it's well worth it because it's free. So anyway, here we are now, we're at Acle Bridge, nicely tied up, and well, it's about 11:15 at this time. By the time we've got sorted out, my camera's off and everything, the pub will be open. Well, it'd be rude not to.